Oh, a body is a dynamic system that responds to what's happening in our environment, in the moment, and what's happening within the body. What food we eat affects the way we think, the way we can be at a point in time. For example, you're having something that is a little unsettling for your stomach. That's going to have you get a little queasy, more concerned with what's happening inside because your stomach is going through stuff. And your ability to be in the moment, your emotions, your way of thinking gets affected because of what's happening inside you. Because, well, your stomach is needing more attention. Similarly, say there is external influence. No, say there's a gadget, yeah, and that has more radiation effect on your body. I'm sitting in front of a screen. Screen has an effect on my biological system. And if I'm, say, walking around in nature amidst trees, trees have a different effect on the body than the screen does, which is why they say limit screen time. There's another reason for it. Because our body is biodynamic, responding to what's happening around, and how much may not have been studied as well as needs to be. When you're sitting amidst people, people affect our system. There are also studies that say women experience their menstrual cycles changing or responding to people amidst whom they spend more time with. Now, that's about menstruation that's been studied. For example, they may not have studied how emotions affect each other. So you're sitting in a group where there's some, say, birthday, happy moment, or another setting where it's not so very happy. That carries over in some way in your system until you maybe have spent some time amidst the trees or roll on the sand. And that has an effect on your body. Body is also piezoelectric. Response has electromagnetic forces, strong forces, weak forces. Gravitational force has a certain gravitas to a matter. We matter in our own ways. While we have an energy that is different from another person. And consequently, correspondingly, we respond to what's outside us, influences our body, as well as what's inside us. I'm particularly making this video to bring to attention this aspect, but particularly about the effect of screen time on our system. While I'm speaking this, I am also a biodynamic health facilitator, and I pay attention to my body in terms of circadian rhythms, in terms of several, so when we say circadian rhythms, it's not just about the effect of sunlight or light on the body. So I have a artificial light on, a tube light on LED, not the sunlight. So this is nighttime, so it should be dark. So the effect of dark light on my body versus during the sunlight. That may have been regarded as circadian rhythms, but we consider circadian as cyclical processes. Digestion, you eat food, it affects your body. After some time, after the digestion, you again get hungry. That's a cyclical process too. Similarly, there are other rhythms, which has been called as ultradian rhythms or intradian rhythms. For example, the menstrual cycle is not happening every day, but it happens over 28 days, 30 days. There are different variations for different people. And that is hormonal changes. Now, that may be studied for women, may not as much studied for men, because, well, men don't go through menstruation, apparently. But they do go through hormonal cycles. They do have hormones. They are also human. So, intradian rhythms may not be studied or maybe being studied differently depending on the context. And Indology, they talk in terms of the Dashavatara and Dashami cycles, where it's talking in terms of mythology, but we may not be regarding mythology as stages of development of like me and my world, and how I develop over time. Because there is reference to every new stage of life requires you to be a new you. When it's spoken in terms of me, every new stage of life requires me to be a new me. And consequently, me and my world view changes according to what is new about what's happening in my life. And do I communicate to others? Do others notice what is new? And do we interact based on what's new about a person's life? And do we regard people as changing, or do we regard them as fixed? We do have this idea of aging. But what does aging look like? Is it just a physical thing? Is it an emotional, intellectual thing too? And how do we respond when aging is not just 1 year after another, but it could also be 1 hour after another? How is a person different an hour from now, or one hour from how they were previously? Is a person different in the afternoon than in the morning? And how much are we accommodating for how fast or how differently moment to moment things are changing? In that sense, how much are we in the present moment, where things, say if you're sitting amongst a group of people, each person is aging, is changing, hour to hour, minute to minute, moment to moment, depending on what's happening inside. They've eaten something a few moments back, and that's having them go queasy or happy. They ate something happy. And as it is getting digested in their system, their emotional state, psychological state, what they're thinking, how their body is feeling, is changing while the digestion is happening. 2 people, 3 people, they ate different things. What's happening in their body is different things. And then what they're thinking about is different. For example, one person is an accountant, another person is a computer person, another one is security. And their thought, what they think about, what they read, what they pay attention to, would also be food for thought, food for experience, food for emotion. Whom do they interact with? Accordingly, is their emotional composition. How their body moves by the energy, say introvert, extrovert, or how they respond with whom they gel with or don't. Somebody spoke down to them and they are a little sad. Yeah. And that's their energy, so to speak. And then they are functioning from, oh, that happened. Yeah. And they're not saying that, but the body is responding in some way, biochemically, biodynamically. And 3 people are sitting with different emotional states, different food they've eaten, different food for thought, experience. So a person sitting there in the moment, over an hour, will experience different things according to how many things are changing in each of these people. So the present moment may seem a little lot to think about, or it may not be just thoughts. It's what you see, hear, smell, taste, feel, know. And so sometimes being in the present moment becomes difficult because our circadian rhythms, our body clock rhythms, body's rhythms are affected by there's a person sitting here who is heavy with something that happened in the past. And their past-based thought lines is affecting you such that you're having a difficulty being in the present moment. And if we don't have a practice of noticing the present moment and what's happening in the present moment, you don't notice that your thought lines are moving towards the past. There's a certain dynamics, there's a certain movement in your thought lines that's more drawn towards past, and you don't know why. They've studied about people going through, say, menstrual cycles, and then they noticed menstrual cycles are changing. But do we notice there are thought lines, maybe in a moment, being drifted towards the past or drifted towards the future because of what is happening in the environment? Who's there in the environment? What are they thinking about? Or a screen, a computer, which has a certain pulse, a certain rhythm by which a software functions. I have, say, a range of softwares, different applications open on the computer. And then I'm going to change from one application to another. The thought lines coded in that application. For example, where is that button placed? And what color is that button? What are the words in different places? And when I change from one application to another, how do that arrangement, that I can see, affect my way of thinking, of appreciating? For example, I like the color green and blue, and the next one, it is red and black, and it affects me differently. And the thought lines that's kind of coded in a software, for example, there is this alluring algorithm, for example, Instagram or different, Twitter, yeah, or Facebook. They have their own alluring logic software. So people are more engaged, spending more time. There is viewership count. How long is the person staying on an application? And based on it is the engagement rate. What are they doing so people are more engaged in it? For example, you're playing games. You're more engaged in that so that when you're interacting with it is when you can go to the next level. For example, you go into clicking a product and then you pay for it. So how long you maintain the engagement rate from one software to another, how what they employ in developing the engagement rate would be different between softwares. And you're sitting on a computer facing a screen, changing between application softwares. And each of the software has an effect on your body differently. And this is not a person, but we might as well be sitting in front of a person because people are also, they have their own thought lines. It's kind of like different softwares running. Yeah. At one point, it's about what's happening in their home. Another time, it is about work. And yeah, another time, it's about, oh, that garden. And suddenly a bird is chirping, and then there's a thought goes there. So it's like many applications playing it in their own way. And you're sitting there at the affect of it all. Affect of different things. Sitting in front of a screen and a person or many people. It's quite a lot of information. Yeah. And highly sensitive people are at the effect of this, and this too. Yeah. Or if you're not sensitive, your sense and sensibilities are, oh, this is it. Yeah. Whatever is happening, so much of things, so much is happening sensorily that you don't feel anything. Yeah. Because it's not overwhelmed. It's just it's easier not to feel because emotions, you don't. If you're going to make decisions based on emotions, it's going to be a little moment. So, or you don't know what are the different things happening in your body. So you say you're numb because you don't know how to name it, but maybe there are many layers happening and there is something happening, but you don't know to differentiate between the different things that's happening between the different layers. Your skin is processing certain information. Your muscles are processing certain information. Your bones are processing certain information because they're affected by different things happening around. And this may seem like a lot, but each of us humans are facing different sensorily perceptions. We are feeling different things because of what is outside us and also what is inside us. So awareness is key. It helps us make better choices when we are aware of what is influencing us and what is allowing versus not allowing for us to be as well as we need to be in this moment in time, on a task, writing something, creating something, and what may be affecting, influencing our ability to be and do. I hope this video gives you pause for thought. This is a little follow-up further from the previous one that may seem like a lot. But the why of it, what is important about what I'm calling as movementless yoga, and how does this play out? How does this affect our everyday experience of living? When we may not be always striking a pose, and it may not just be about exercise, but it's about what exercise, what practices, personal maintenance practices have a play, have a role in how fit or how pro-fit we are for being proactively with life, or we are a little passive because of the influences, but then also because we may not be aware of what has us be active versus passive, and what does it take to change that if you're getting, say, buffed by a wind that is more influencing your thought than about what's happening here. And what does it take to come back into your performance zone and not just be a cookie, but responsive, responsible, able to respond and not just react or no react, or to function in such a way that we, contemporaries who's around us, and future generations can do better from what we do in this moment, what we are able to do in this moment, and what we can do to accommodate for that different people are faced with different influences, social media influences, people influences, or environmental influences. There's also Andromeda Galaxy in different stages of merging with Milky Way Galaxy. So cosmic, miasmic, rheumatic, telluric influences. And what are we doing to be able to balance the equation, balance the responses, so we are not reacting, but responding in a way that we as a microcosm and macrocosm are in a dance by which we help bring balance between how things are to how things could be. I hope this gives you pause for thought. Thank you so much for your kind interest. Good day.